Right. So as we have seen, the group numbers are given, and then accessing the Nutanix, the URL is that. So let's get the URL. So if you type in https pc.tape.msd 9440 advanced, go to the URL, and then you will use your group number now according to the group number that I have given you. So CG6 or 7 or whatever it is, but then you also have to add the domain. So I will just take maybe CG20 at tape.msd. So you need to, with the group number that is assigned, you have to append the domain tape.msd. And then password is GC1T#123. So that is GC. So username is your group number, CG !@ at tape.mst, and your password will be GC1T#123, right? So once you log in, you will see something like that. So you can create your VMs using catalog items, or you can create VMs from scratch using the ISO. Now, I have got most of the templates that is necessary from the catalog items. So you can choose whatever the VM that you want. To start with, I think let's install a Windows VM. So you can select template Windows 10 Enterprise Edition and begin. So that should give you the configuration screen. And here, as I mentioned, put your group number as the prefix. So in my case, I have used group 20. So let me say group 20 and then Windows 10. So I'm going to create a Windows 10 VM, right? And then now CPU, these are by default, you get virtual CPUs, 2 virtual CPUs, RAM, 4 gigabytes. So you can probably, for Windows, maybe 8 would be better. So I will make it 8. You have enough cloud on the data center. You can put more memory, but just be mindful, this is being shared by not only your class, but other classes as well. So as long as you choose reasonable amounts, it should be fine. Go next. And so that's your settings. There will be the CD disk by default. You get 40 gigabytes, and then there is a CD-ROM which has the installed CD, and then there is another CD-ROM which has the drivers, Nutanix drivers. We will use that in a while. Then you need to attach to a subnet. Now you will be assigned a private network, private subnet, which will start with VR and your group number 20. So in case if your group number was 6, you will see a 406. That's your private network. So as I mentioned, you can do whatever experiments within your private network. But to begin with, I'm going to put this in a public network. So VLAN bridge 0, and that is our public tape.msd network. So I'm going to put it on that so that I can do some updates initially. Download, if I want to download something, I can do all that initially. And then you need to make sure that your network connection state is on connected state. So you can either be on disconnected or connected. So make sure that it's on connected state and then save it. So that's your network now. You have put your VM on the public network. And then rest of the settings can remain the same. Go next. And this one, again, can be as is. There's nothing for you to set there. And then review your settings. So make sure your name has a prefix of your group, and then underscore, you can put some meaningful name to show you what VM it is, whether it is Windows or Linux or whatever it is, and rest of the settings, and then you can create VM, right? So that should create your Windows VM. And while it's being created, let's go and create the, say, I want to create. So you see the Windows VM has come behind, you can see. So I cancel that, it's already created. Now you can power on, and then you can start working. So before that, before going into Windows and then configuring it, let's create Ubuntu VM. So again, from the template, there is Ubuntu, I think version 2022 here. So that's the latest version. So we can choose that. I think there must be 23, but I haven't got the template for that. So that should be fine. Ubuntu 22, begin. And again, name it with your group CG20 underscore, you can say Ubuntu 2022 04, whatever, right? And in this case, for Ubuntu, you don't need much RAM. Actually, there is 4 gigabytes, so that should be fine. And 1 virtual CPU should be fine. Leave it like that. Go next. And here again, you get 100 gigabytes of hard disk space. Now that 100 is again too much for Linux, but we have enough and more storage, so that should be okay. There is no CD-ROM. There is nothing attached to the CD-ROM. And by default, you see it is connected to the public network. So if you edit that, you will see it's public network, but it's in disconnected state. So let's connect it. So again, I am putting it on public network because I need to download and update the Linux. So let's put it on public again, and then go next. This is as is. Go next. You can review the settings. Name with CG20 and Ubuntu 2204. 1 virtual CPU and 4 gigabytes of RAM. 100 gigabytes of hard disk space on public network, and create VM. Right. So Windows is already created. Now we can access Windows, go into action. Now, before accessing Windows, let's power on this as well. So select that and power on. And then you go into Windows, and then you can say launch console. So that's your Windows console. You can log in. So by default, most of the VMs, the default username is GCIT and the password is the same thing, GC1T#123. Right, so that again, I will put it in the Word document for all your most VMs, right? For most VMs, let's put it this way. For most VMs, default username is GCIT. Password is GC1T#123. Right. So let's. Right. Okay, so we are logged into Windows. Now on Windows, you will see that there is no network icon. You can't see the network icon here. There is the Defender icon is there, USB and the OneDrive, but you don't see the network icon because for network to work, we need to install the drivers. So go into Control Panel, Hardware, and device manager and Ethernet controller, you see there's an exclamation mark. So that right click on that and then update driver. And then select browse my computer for driver and go into browse and go into the second CD-ROM that we saw. So that shows Nutanix Virtual IO. Select that and select Windows 10. So we are installing it on Windows 10 driver and then go next. So that should automatically install network. So now you see it has installed the network driver and it's asking whether you want your PC to be discoverable. Let's say yes and close, right? So basically now the Windows network adapter driver has been installed and that should give us, in fact, since we are on public network, we should get internet access. So let's go into the Explorer and then let's download Chrome. I just want Chrome. Okay, so let's download Chrome. Download Chrome, accept and install, and save, running the scan, and run. Right, so Chrome, okay, so installing Chrome, you can close this. All tabs, yeah. So let's, so that's again, installing the Chrome on the Windows VM. And that's why I put it on public network. So once it installs, we will go back and put it back into the private network. So I don't want these VMs remaining in the public network for too long. I don't want to sign in. I just want to skip. And that's all about, I suppose. Yeah, right. So I have Chrome now. So let's close I'll just minimize Windows. There is minimize the browser. That's your Windows. Windows we have minimized. And cross this. Before going into the next, into the Linux VM, I'll go into update and then I will set it, go next. And I want to revert this back to the private network. So edit and then go into the private network again. So that's your private network, connect and save and go next and save. So now I have put the Windows in the private network. So if I go now into Windows, it should, in fact, this should be now actually it's still showing that, but if I go into internet and let's try to browse something, yahoo.com. So you see yahoo.com is not right. So now that I have put it on the private network, I have to give a IP address because there is no DHCP server. Now earlier on the public network, it gave me an IP address because it just grabbed an IP address from our DHCP server. But now that we have put it into the private network, there is no DHCP server in your private network. So we will put a static IP. So go into properties and no need of IPv6, go into IPv4 and let's put a private, let's say, I'll just put 10.1.1.1 for this one and 255 mask. No need of DHCP or gateway because this is going to be a private network. You're going to directly access. So no gateway, no DNS yet. Later, you might install your DNS server and DHCP server. Then you can put all those. But for now, just 10.1.1.1 and mask is /24, right? So that's all on my Windows. I will just minimize that, close this, and then go into my Ubuntu. Let's open up Ubuntu, launch console again. And that's my Ubuntu. So here again, the username must be GCIT and the password is DC1T#123. GCIT should have sudo access, so you should be able to use sudo and do updates. Now, again, I put the Ubuntu also on the public network. So if I do a IPA, I should see a public IP address. Yes, there is a public IP address. You see, 172.17.124 is our tape.mst range. So it has got public IP address. Now I should be able to do sudo apt update. So let's do a package update. And password is GC1G#123. And if everything is good, it should do a package update. Okay, so it has done a package update. And okay, so it has done a package update. And then what I want to do is I just want to install Apache. That's what I did last time. So I just want to install Apache web server on this. So sudo apt install Apache 2. Yes. So yeah, so what I did last week is install Apache on this, and then we accessed the Apache default web page from the Windows, right? But now, once it installs Apache, we will put this back on private network. Right now, still it is on the public network. So I want to put this, let's minimize this, go to update, and I will put this on to private network, edit, put this into the same private network as Windows, and it has to be in connected state, save it, go next, save. So now your Ubuntu is also on the private network, right? Let's now give an IP address. Now that we have put it on a private network, we have to give an IP address. So to configure the IP address, you have to go into network configuration, sudo nano etc netplan this file, and then you can give your IP address in that format, right? So let's do that. Go into sudo nano etc netplan, that file. And here, if you go up, you will see ENS. That one, right now it's DHCP. So that's why, since DHCP is true, and that's how we were able to get an IP address from our DNS server when it was on the public network. Now that it's in the private network, so we are going to change this to addresses addresses colon, going to put a square bracket, and we use the 10 dot range. So 10.1.1.1 we use for Windows. Let me put this on 2, and mask is /24, right? So that's it for the network configuration. That's all you need to do. And then you can Control X, save, yes, default is yes, and save it on the file, yes, right? So once you change the network configuration, for the network configuration to become effective, you have to sudo netplan apply, need to apply, right? So sudo netplan apply. Now if you do a IPA, you will see the new IP address is in force. So 10.1.1.2 for Linux, and then Windows, where is my Windows? This one. Windows is on, if you do a command CMD, if you do a IP config, this is on 10.1.1. So let's see now that they both have IP addresses in the same private network, we should be able to ping each other. So let's try and ping the Ubuntu. Okay, Ubuntu is pinging. So from Windows, I'm able to ping Ubuntu. Let's try the other way around, ping 10.1.1.1. So from Ubuntu, I'm trying to ping Windows. So that is not pinging. Anyone knows why? We did it last time. Sorry? Firewall, yes. So Windows firewall. Where's my Windows firewall? Windows firewall. Yeah, so Windows firewall. Inbound rules, we need to enable the ICMP. Oh, where is that? ICMP file. Yeah, this one. So we are in the private network, ICMP version 4, private network enable. We need to allow. So enable rule. So that should, now it started pinging. See, once I enable, it started pinging. So both are talking to each other, right? So now both your Windows and Linux is talking to each other. And now we should be able to access the default. So let's see whether we can access the default web page from Linux. So 10.1.1.2 is the Linux IP address. Since I have installed the Apache on Linux, it should be able to access the default web page, right? Now, this is the default web page on your Linux server that I installed. Now, if you want to be absolutely sure that it's coming from your Linux box, we can again edit nano. You can edit the default file, web index.html file, which will be in var www.html index.html. So that's the file, the default file, and we can go into and edit. I will edit that Apache default page, right? So this one, I will change it as ELAN's default page, right? Control X, save it. Yes, save it with that. And it says error writing because I think I know. So save, I'm going to say no now because I didn't say sudo. So sudo nano again, edit. Let's come and edit ELAN's default page. Control X, save it. Yes, save yes. Save it to that. Now it's edited. Now, if I refresh, I should see ELAN's default web page, right? Okay, so that's what I did last time for you all to get, familiar with the environment. We just created a Windows VM and a Linux VM, and they are talking to each other. I'll just also, while I'm here, I'll create a Kali Linux as well. So Kali. Let's see, Kali, there is Kali, I think 2029. Yeah, Kali 2029 is there, and that should be fine. Let's install a Kali 2019. So again, CG20 underscore Kali 2019. So make sure that you use that naming convention. Always put your group number in front so that I can identify to which group those VMs belong. And then this should be fine. The CPU and memory should be fine. Leave it like that. Put it into, so here I'm going to straight away put this in private network. So let it be in the private. I don't need to update anything there or install anything into Kali as of now, and create the VM. Right. So now I should get my Kali coming in. I already have Windows Ubuntu running, and let's wait for the Kali. So, 10.1.1.2, 10.1.1.2 is the Linux IP address. So Okay. Yeah, Kali has now come in. Kali, let's power on. Power on. So you see, this one, it shows the IP address Windows and 10.1.1, move on to 10.1.1.2. Now that's the old IP address that was assigned when it was on public network. It shows that as well. Can't expand that. Okay, Kali is on. Let's go into Kali, launch console. Kali username. Yeah, it should be the same username, DCIT, and password BC1P #123. No, so probably maybe root and GC1P #123. Yes, it's root. So for Kali, default. Oh, actually, yeah. Kali, for Kali, use root as username with same password. Password GCIT, that's for Kali. Kali. Okay. Right. So we are now into Kali. Right. Again, we need to set the IP address here. So I think you can set the IP address from here. Wired connection, wired settings. You can go into wired settings and wired settings, this one. IPv4, IPv4. Manual 10.1.1.3. Let me put it 1.3. 1.3 netmask 255.255.255.0 and apply. Yeah, and then disable and enable should enable the IP. Yeah, now it's connected. And now if I go and get a terminal, let's open a terminal. Where is terminal? Where's my terminal? Where is the terminal? This one? It's frequent. I don't know. Ah, here it is. No, where am I looking? Probably. Okay, terminal. Let's ping 10.1.1.1 Windows. Yes, it's pinging 1.2. It's pinging 1.2. So yeah, so that's connected. Kali is also connected. Right. So now you are good to go. You have Kali. You can hack into your Windows or into your 1.2 or whatever. You know? So yeah, create some vulnerable machines. Create some vulnerabilities in Windows 10 1.2 and then use Kali to exploit. You will have all the tools. Of course, you all should know by now, Kali has all these tools necessary for pen testing and ethical hacking. So you can get started. All right, so that's all what I wanted to show you all. And again, you can, delete and create any amount of VMs. Generally, you might need about, as I mentioned, each member in the group will be experimenting individually, right? During the first term, you will practice various attacks and defense I will from next week, I will also introduce some of those attacks and defense in the sense, some attacks I will show you all, right? And then I will also then introduce Splunk and the other tools for incident detection. So I will. So while I'll sort of explain and demonstrate, you can try it then on your environment as well, right? All right. So let's stop the recording.